Maya Thompson never imagined that a simple scholarship to Seoul National University would change her entire life. The 22-year-old from Chicago had worked tirelessly through high school and college, earning perfect grades and mastering Korean language to secure her spot in the prestigious international business program. Her mother, a single parent who worked double shifts as a nurse, had tears streaming down her face the day Maya received her acceptance letter. The autumn air in Seoul felt different from Chicago. It carried the scent of ginkgo trees and street food, mixing with the sounds of a language Maya had only practiced in classrooms. She pulled her suitcase through the bustling streets of Gangnam, where she would share a small apartment with 3 other international students. Everything felt overwhelming yet exciting. Her first week at the university passed in a blur of orientation meetings and campus tours. Maya noticed how some Korean students stared at her, not with hostility, but with curiosity. She was one of only 5 black students in the entire international program. Her natural hair, which she wore in long braids, seemed to fascinate everyone she met. It was during her second week in the university library that everything changed. Maya was searching for a book on Korean corporate culture when she accidentally knocked over an entire stack of someone else's books. Mortified, she immediately dropped to her knees to gather them. "I'm so sorry," she said in Korean, her American accent still noticeable despite years of practice. "It's fine," came a deep voice from above her. When Maya looked up, she found herself staring into the darkest eyes she had ever seen. The man standing before her was tall for a Korean, probably around 6 feet, with perfectly styled black hair and features that looked like they were carved from marble. He wore a simple white shirt and dark jeans, but something about the way he carried himself suggested wealth and importance. "You're from the international program," he said in perfect English, switching languages effortlessly. It wasn't a question. Maya nodded, still holding his books. She noticed other students in the library had stopped what they were doing to watch their interaction. Some were whispering behind their hands. "I'm Maya," she said, standing up and handing him his books. He took them without breaking eye contact. "I know who you are." Before Maya could ask what he meant, he turned and walked away, leaving her confused and slightly irritated. Who was this mysterious guy who apparently knew her but didn't even introduce himself? Over the next few days, Maya kept seeing him around campus. He was always surrounded by a group of well-dressed students who seemed to hang on his every word. Whenever their eyes met across the courtyard or in the cafeteria, he would hold her gaze for a moment before looking away. "That's Lee Min-jun," her roommate Yuki explained one evening when Maya finally asked about him. Yuki, a Japanese student who had been in Seoul for 2 years, looked almost scared as she spoke. "His family owns Lee Industries. They're one of the most powerful families in Korea. His father is close friends with the president." "So he's rich," Maya shrugged, stirring her ramen. "So what?" "Not just rich," Yuki whispered, as if afraid someone might overhear. "They're like royalty here. The Lee family can trace their lineage back to the Joseon dynasty. Min-jun is supposed to marry someone from another powerful family. It's already been arranged since he was young." Maya felt a strange disappointment at this news, though she couldn't explain why. She had only spoken to him once, and he had been rather rude. Still, there was something about the way he looked at her that made her heart beat faster. The next morning, Maya was running late for her international finance class. She rushed into the lecture hall, expecting to slip into a back seat unnoticed. Instead, she found the only empty seat was in the second row, right next to Lee Min-jun. He didn't acknowledge her as she sat down, but she could feel the tension radiating from him. Other students kept glancing their way, and Maya heard someone whisper something about the American girl. Professor Kim began his lecture on global market trends, but Maya found it hard to concentrate. She was acutely aware of Min-jun's presence beside her. He took notes with an expensive-looking pen, his handwriting neat and precise. When he shifted in his seat, she caught a hint of his cologne, something subtle and undoubtedly costly. Halfway through the class, Professor Kim announced a group project. You'll work in pairs to analyze a multinational corporation's expansion strategy. The person sitting next to you will be your partner. Maya's heart sank. She turned to find Min-jun already looking at her, his expression unreadable. "I guess we're partners," she said in Korean. "I guess we are," he replied in English. After class, Min-jun suggested they meet at a coffee shop near campus to discuss their project. Maya expected him to choose somewhere trendy and expensive, but instead, he led her to a small, quiet place tucked away in a side street. "You seem surprised," he said as they sat down with their coffees. "I just thought someone like you would prefer somewhere more fancy," Maya admitted. A small smile played at the corners of his mouth. "Someone like me? You know what I mean. Rich, powerful, basically Korean royalty according to my roommate." Min-jun's smile faded. "Is that what people tell you about me? Are they wrong?" He was quiet for a long moment, staring into his coffee cup. "No, they're not wrong. But that's not all I am." They spent the next 2 hours discussing their project. But the conversation kept drifting to other topics. Maya learned that Min-jun had studied at Harvard for 2 years before returning to Korea. He spoke 4 languages fluently and played classical piano. Despite his privileged background, he seemed genuinely interested in her stories about growing up in Chicago, especially when she talked about her mother's sacrifices to give her a better life. "Your mother sounds like an incredible woman," he said softly. "She is. She's my hero," Maya replied, feeling a familiar warmth when thinking about her mom. "She always told me that being black in this world meant I had to work twice as hard to get half as far. But she also taught me to be proud of who I am, to never apologize for taking up space." Min-jun watched her with an intensity that made her skin tingle. "I think that's beautiful," he said. "That confidence, that strength. It's what I noticed about you from the first day." "Is that why you said you knew who I was?" Maya asked. He looked almost embarrassed. "I may have asked around about you after seeing you in the orientation ceremony. You stood out." "Because I'm black?" "Because you walked into that room like you belonged there, like you weren't afraid of anyone or anything. Do you know how rare that is here? Everyone is always worried about hierarchy, about knowing their place, but you just are who you are." Maya felt heat rising to her cheeks. No one had ever described her that way before. In America, she was just another student. Here in Korea, she had expected to feel like an outsider. She hadn't expected someone like Lee Min-jun to see her as something special. Over the next few weeks, their coffee shop meetings became a regular thing. What started as project discussions evolved into long conversations about everything and nothing. Min-jun showed her hidden spots around Seoul, a bookstore that specialized in rare editions, a tiny restaurant that served the best kimchi jjigae in the city, a rooftop garden where you could see the entire skyline. Maya found herself looking forward to their meetings more than she wanted to admit. Min-jun was nothing like she had expected. Behind his cold exterior was someone funny, thoughtful, and surprisingly vulnerable. He told her about the pressure of being the only son, the weight of family expectations, the loneliness of having everything but freedom. "Sometimes I feel like I'm living someone else's life," he confessed one evening as they walked along the Han River. The city lights reflected on the water, creating a magical atmosphere. "Whose life would you live if you could choose?" Maya asked. He stopped walking and turned to face her. "Someone who could be with whoever they wanted. Someone who could follow their heart without destroying their family." The intensity in his eyes made Maya's breath catch. She knew they were treading dangerous ground, but she couldn't seem to stop herself from moving closer to him. "Min-jun," she whispered. "I know." he said, his voice rough. I know this is impossible. My engagement will be announced next month. But Maya, I can't stop thinking about you. You've turned my whole world upside down. Maya felt tears stinging her eyes. She had tried so hard not to fall for him, knowing it could only end in heartbreak. But somewhere between their coffee shop conversations and secret walks around the city, she had lost her heart to this complicated, beautiful man who carried the weight of generations on his shoulders. The news of Min Jun's upcoming engagement spread through the university like wildfire. Maya heard it first from a group of girls in her dormitory bathroom, gossiping excitedly about the merger between Lee Industries and Choi Corporation that would be sealed with the marriage of their heirs. Kim Choi is so beautiful, one girl sighed. They'll make the perfect couple. Maya's hands trembled as she washed them, keeping her face carefully neutral. She knew this was coming. Min Jun had warned her, but knowing and feeling were two different things. And the pain that shot through her chest was almost physical. She avoided him for 3 days, ignoring his texts and taking different routes around campus. On the 4th day, he cornered her outside the library. "You can't keep running from me," he said, his usually perfect appearance slightly disheveled. Dark circles under his eyes suggested he hadn't been sleeping well. "I'm not running," Maya lied. "I've just been busy." "Maya, please." He reached for her hand, then seemed to remember they were in public and pulled back. "Can we talk?" Against her better judgment, she followed him to their coffee shop. The elderly owner smiled at them warmly, bringing their usual orders without being asked. It was these small things that made Maya realize how deeply embedded in each other's lives they had become in such a short time. "The engagement isn't what you think," Min Jun began once they were seated in their usual corner. "It's a business arrangement. Kim Choi and I have known each other since we were children. She doesn't love me any more than I love her." "That doesn't make it better," Maya said quietly. "You're still going to marry her." "I don't have a choice." The words exploded from him, causing other patrons to look their way. He lowered his voice. "If I refuse, my father will cut me off from the family. Not just financially, I could handle that, but in Korean culture, it would be like I never existed. My mother would be forced to act like she doesn't have a son. My younger sister's marriage prospects would be ruined. I can't do that to them." Maya wanted to be angry, but all she felt was sadness. "I understand," she said. "I really do. But that doesn't mean I can keep doing this, whatever this is. It hurts too much. What if I told you I was falling in love with you?" The words hung between them like a challenge. Maya's heart raced, but she forced herself to remain calm. "Then I would say you're being cruel," she whispered, "because what difference does it make? Love isn't enough to change who you are or where you come from." Min Jun's phone buzzed on the table. His father's name flashed on the screen. With a resigned sigh, he answered it, switching to rapid Korean. Maya understood enough to know his father was demanding he come home immediately. "I have to go," he said after hanging up. "There's a family dinner tonight, with the Chois." Maya nodded, standing up to leave. Min Jun caught her wrist gently. "This isn't over," he said fiercely. "I won't let it be." As Maya walked back to her apartment alone, she tried to convince herself that ending things now was for the best, but her heart wasn't listening to logic. That night, she called her mother, needing to hear a familiar voice. "Baby girl, what's wrong?" Her mother's warmth came through even across the ocean. "You sound like you've been crying." Maya told her everything, the words tumbling out between sobs. Her mother listened without interrupting, making sympathetic noises at all the right moments. "Oh, honey," she said when Maya finally finished. "You've got yourself in a real situation, haven't you?" "I know I should walk away," Maya said. "But, Mom, I've never felt like this about anyone before. Listen to me." Her mother's voice turned serious. I raised you to be strong, to know your worth. Don't you ever settle for being someone's secret or second choice. If this boy really loves you, he'll find a way to make it work. And if he doesn't, then he was never worthy of you in the first place. The next few weeks were torture. Minjun continued to text and call, but Maya remained distant. She threw herself into her studies, determined to remember why she had come to Korea in the first place. But everywhere she went on campus reminded her of him. One rainy afternoon, she was studying in the library when someone slid into the seat across from her. Looking up, she expected to see Min Jun. Instead, she found herself face to face with a stunningly beautiful Korean woman dressed in designer clothes. "You're Maya Thompson," the woman said in accented English. "I'm Kim Choi." Maya's stomach dropped. "I know who you are." Choi studied her with intelligent eyes. "I thought we should talk, woman to woman." "About what?" Maya asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "About Min Jun, of course." Choi's smile was cold. "I know he's been spending time with you. I'm not angry. Men have their diversions. But I thought you should understand something. Min Jun and I will be married next spring. Our families have been planning this for 20 years. Nothing and no one will change that." "If you're so confident, why are you here?" Maya challenged. Choi's perfect composure cracked slightly. "Because I see how he looks at you. And it's inconvenient. You seem like a smart girl. Surely you must realize this can only end badly for you. You're a foreigner here, a student on a visa. One word from my family or his, and you could find yourself on a plane back to America." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm offering you advice," Choi said smoothly. "Take it or leave it. But remember, you're playing a game you can't win. Min Jun might think he cares for you now, but when it comes down to choosing between you and his family legacy, we both know what he'll pick." After Choi left, Maya sat frozen in her seat. The rational part of her knew the other woman was right, but the part of her that had fallen in love with Min Jun refused to give up hope. That evening, Min Jun showed up at her apartment building. Her roommates were out, leaving them alone in the small living room. He was soaking wet from the rain, his usually perfect hair plastered to his forehead. "Choi came to see you," he said without preamble. "She told me. Maya, I'm so sorry." "She had no right." "She had every right," Maya interrupted. "She's your fiancé." "She's not my anything," Min Jun exploded. "It's a business contract, nothing more. Maya, I can't do this anymore. I can't pretend I don't love you. I can't go through with this engagement knowing you're out there, knowing what we could have together." "What are you saying?" He crossed the room in 2 strides, cupping her face in his hands. "I'm saying I choose you. I'll face whatever consequences come. I'll give up the company, the money, all of it, because none of it means anything without you." Maya searched his eyes, looking for any sign of doubt or regret. All she saw was determination and love. "Your family will disown you," she whispered. "Then I'll make a new family, with you, if you'll have me." "Min Jun, He silenced her with a kiss. It was desperate and passionate, full of weeks of suppressed longing. Maya melted into him, her hands tangling in his wet hair. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing heavily. "I love you," he said simply. "I've loved you since that day you knocked over my books and looked at me like I was just another student, not the Lee heir. You saw me, Maya, just me. No one has ever done that before." Tears streamed down Maya's face. "I love you too. But love isn't always enough." "Then we'll make it enough," he said fiercely. "My grandfather once told me a story about our family. During the Korean War, my great-grandmother fell in love with a man her family didn't approve of. He was poor, from a lower class. But she chose him anyway. She said that honor without love was just a beautiful prison. They ran away together. Started over with nothing. And you know what? They built the foundation of what would become Lee Industries. They were happy, Maya. happier than any arranged marriage could have made them. But times were different then, Maya protested weakly, even as hope bloomed in her chest. Were they? Or are we just told that to keep us in line? Minjun pulled her close again. I've spent my whole life doing what was expected of me. For once, I want to do what's right for me, and what's right is you. They talked until dawn, making plans and discussing possibilities. Minjun would speak to his parents after the semester ended. He had money saved from his trust fund, enough to support them while he figured out his next steps. Maya would finish her degree. He insisted on that. They would face whatever came together. But as the sun rose over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that their biggest challenges were yet to come. Love might conquer all in fairy tales, but this was real life. And in real life, powerful families didn't simply accept their heirs choosing love over duty. The next few days passed in a blur of secret meetings and stolen moments. Minjun began the delicate process of extricating himself from family obligations without raising suspicion. Maya focused on her studies, knowing that maintaining her scholarship was more important than ever. Then, one ordinary Tuesday, everything changed. Maya was walking to class when her phone rang. It was Minjun's number, but the voice on the other end wasn't his. Miss Thompson, this is Lee Minjun's father. We need to talk. Maya's hands shook as she gripped the phone. Lee Minjun's father's voice was deep and controlled, giving nothing away. I believe you know who I am, he continued in perfect English. I'm sending a car for you. The driver will bring you to my office. We have matters to discuss. I have class, Maya began. I'm sure you'll find this more important than any class, Miss Thompson. The car will be outside your building in 10 minutes. The line went dead. Maya stood frozen on the sidewalk, her mind racing. Should she call Minjun? Run? Her mother's words echoed in her head. Don't you ever settle for being someone's secret or second choice. 10 minutes later, a black sedan pulled up exactly as promised. The driver, a stern-faced man in his 50s, opened the door without a word. Maya climbed in, her heart pounding. The ride to Lee Industries headquarters took 30 minutes. The building was a gleaming tower of glass and steel in the heart of Seoul's business district. Maya had never felt more out of place as she was escorted through the marble lobby to a private elevator. Lee Minjun Sr.'s office occupied the entire top floor. The man himself stood with his back to her, gazing out at the city below. He was shorter than his son, but carried himself with an authority that filled the room. My son thinks he loves you, he said without turning around. Maya lifted her chin. He does love me, and I love him. Mr. Lee finally turned, and Maya was struck by how much he looked like an older version of Minjun. The same sharp cheekbones, the same intense eyes. But where Minjun's eyes held warmth, his father's were cold as winter. Love, he repeated, as if tasting the word. Do you know what love has cost my family, Miss Thompson? He gestured to a wall covered in family photographs. My younger brother loved a Japanese woman. My father disowned him. He died alone in Tokyo, never reconciled with the family. My sister loved a man who turned out to be after our money. The scandal nearly destroyed us. And now my son thinks he loves you. I'm not after your money, Maya said firmly. I have my own scholarship, my own plans. I was doing fine before I met Minjun. I know, Mr. Lee said, surprising her. I've had you investigated, of course. Top of your class in Chicago. Full scholarship here. Your mother is a remarkable woman, raising you alone while working 2 jobs. You come from good people, Miss Thompson. Which is why I'm going to make you an offer. He walked to his desk and pulled out a check. The number on it made Maya's eyes widen. It was more money than she could imagine. Take this and leave Korea. Finish your education in America or Europe. Never contact my son again. His voice was matter-of-fact, as if he were discussing a simple business transaction. Maya stared at the check. With that money, she could pay off her mother's mortgage. She could attend any university in the world without worrying about scholarships. She could give her mother the comfortable life she deserved. "And if I refuse?" Mr. Lee's expression hardened. "Then I'll make things very difficult for you. Your scholarship could be revoked. A word from me to the university board would be enough. Your student visa could be questioned. Your mother's job at the hospital in Chicago. Did you know the Lee Foundation donated $10 million to that hospital last year? We could reconsider our support." "You're threatening my mother?" Maya's voice shook with anger. "I'm protecting my family," he replied, "just as I'm sure you would protect yours." Maya felt tears burning her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Does Min Jun know you're doing this?" "My son is at the family estate in Jeju. He's been detained there while I clean up this mess." At Maya's look of alarm, he added, "He's not a prisoner. He's simply being reminded of his responsibilities, of all the people who depend on him." "You mean all the business deals that depend on him marrying Kim Choi?" "Among other things." Mr. Lee returned to the window. "You're young, Miss Thompson. You think love conquers all, but let me tell you what really happens. If Min Jun chooses you, he loses everything. Not just money, his identity, his place in society, his family, and eventually he'll resent you for it. The love you think you have will turn to bitterness. I've seen it happen too many times." Maya thought of Min Jun's great-grandmother, the woman who chose love over duty. But she also thought of all the unknown stories, the ones that didn't end happily. "I need to talk to him," she said. "That's not possible." "Then I can't make a decision." Mr. Lee studied her for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call in rapid Korean. After a brief conversation, he handed the phone to Maya. "Maya?" Min Jun's voice was strained. "Are you okay?" "I'm so sorry. I tried to call you, but they took my phone." "I'm fine," she assured him, even though she was far from it. "Your father made me an offer." There was silence on the other end. Then quietly, "How much?" "Does it matter?" "No," he said immediately. "Maya, listen to me. I don't care what he threatened or what he offered. I meant what I said. I choose you. I'll always choose you." "Even if it costs you everything?" "The only thing that would cost me everything is losing you." Maya closed her eyes. "Min Jun, I need you to really think about this. Not just the romantic parts, but the reality. Can you really be happy working a regular job, living in a small apartment, being cut off from your family, your sister?" "My sister supports us," Min Jun said, surprising her. "She's the one who helped me see that living someone else's life isn't living at all. Maya, I've thought about nothing else for weeks. I know it will be hard. I know there will be days when I question everything. But I also know that a life without you isn't a life worth living." "Your son is being dramatic," Mr. Lee said, taking the phone back. "He's had everything handed to him. He doesn't understand what struggle really means." Maya looked at the older man, really looked at him. Behind the cold exterior, she saw something else: fear. He was afraid of losing his son, afraid of change, afraid of anything that threatened the carefully constructed world he had built. "Mr. Lee," she said softly, "did you love Min Jun's mother when you married her?" The question clearly caught him off guard. "That's not relevant." "I think it is. Because from what Min Jun has told me, you had an arranged marriage too. And you've been living separate lives for years, maintaining appearances for the sake of the family business." His jaw tightened. "You know nothing about my marriage. I know your son doesn't want to repeat your mistakes." The words hung in the air between them. For a moment, Mr. Lee looked older, more vulnerable. "I have given my son everything," he said quietly. "The best education, every opportunity, a secure future. And this is how he repays me? By wanting to be happy, Maya challenged. By wanting to marry for love instead of business? Maybe that's the greatest gift you could give him. The freedom to choose his own path. Mr. Lee walked back to his desk and sat down heavily. You really love him? It wasn't a question, but Maya answered anyway. With all my heart. And you would give up the money, risk your scholarship, your future for him? I would, but I won't let him give up his family for me. Maya took a deep breath. So I have a different proposal. Mr. Lee raised an eyebrow, looking intrigued despite himself. Give us time, Maya said. Let me finish my degree. Let Min-jun prove he can succeed without the family company. If he can build something on his own, if we can show you that our love is strong enough to survive the real world, then you reconsider your position. And the engagement to Kim Choi? Postpone it. Tell them Min-jun needs more time to prepare for such a big responsibility. Buy us 2 years. Mr. Lee leaned back in his chair. You're negotiating with me. I'm offering you a chance to keep your son in your life, Maya said. Because if you force him to choose right now, you'll lose him forever. But if you give us time, maybe we can find a way for everyone to win. And if you fail, if the reality of life without wealth and privilege proves too much, then Min-jun returns and fulfills his obligations. The words tasted bitter, but Maya forced them out. I'll leave Korea and never contact him again. Mr. Lee was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. You have 1 year, not 2. Min-jun will receive no support from the family during this time. He must prove he can provide for himself and you without the Lee name or money. If he succeeds, I'll consider your relationship. If he fails, you both honor the agreement. 18 months, Maya countered. Despite himself, Mr. Lee smiled slightly. You would have made a good businesswoman. 18 months. But there are conditions. You both finish your educations. No pregnancy. I won't have you trying to trap him with a child. And this arrangement remains private. To the world, Min-jun is simply taking time to gain more experience before marriage. Agreed. Mr. Lee pressed a button on his desk. Have my son brought back to Seoul, he told his assistant. Then to Maya, you may go. Min-jun will contact you when he returns. As Maya stood to leave, Mr. Lee spoke again. Miss Thompson, you asked if I loved my wife when we married. The answer is no. But I learned to respect her, to value her as the mother of my children and my partner in life. It's not the passionate love you speak of, but it has lasted 40 years. With all due respect, Mr. Lee, lasting isn't the same as living. She left him standing there, staring after her with an unreadable expression. 2 days later, Min-jun showed up at her apartment with a split lip and bruised knuckles. What happened? Maya gasped, pulling him inside. I may have gotten into a disagreement with some of my father's security team when they tried to stop me from leaving Jeju, he said with a sheepish grin. Don't worry. I gave as good as I got. As Maya cleaned his wounds, Min-jun told her about his father's version of their agreement. He made it sound like it was all his idea, he said with a wry smile. But I know better. Maya, you brilliant, brave woman. You negotiated with my father and won. We haven't won yet, Maya reminded him. 18 months isn't very long. You need to find a job, a place to live. Already done, Min-jun interrupted. My Harvard roommate runs a tech startup here in Seoul. He's been trying to recruit me for months. The pay isn't much compared to what I'm used to, but it's honest work. And I found a studio apartment near the university. It's small, but it's mine. Maya felt tears sliding down her cheeks. You really meant it. You're really doing this. Did you doubt me? He cupped her face gently. Maya, you're worth more than any inheritance. You make me want to be better, to build something real instead of just inheriting someone else's empire. They spent the next months learning what it meant to love each other without the shadow of impossibility hanging over them. Min-jun threw himself into his new job, often working late into the night to prove himself. Maya watched with pride as he adapted to his new life, never once complaining about the things he had lost. There were hard moments. The first time Min-jun's credit card was declined at a restaurant, he looked so bewildered that Maya had to stifle a laugh. When his car was repossessed, he took it in stride, learning to navigate Seoul's public transportation system. His designer clothes were gradually replaced with simple, affordable alternatives. But there were beautiful moments, too. Cooking ramyun together in his tiny apartment, studying side by side in the library, walking through Seoul's markets, no longer worried about being seen together. Min-jun's sister secretly met them for coffee sometimes, bringing updates about the family and messages of support. 8 months into their agreement, Min-jun's startup secured major funding. His innovative approach to blockchain technology caught the attention of international investors. Suddenly, he was no longer just surviving, he was succeeding on his own merits. "Your father will be impressed," Maya said, as they celebrated with cheap soju on his apartment rooftop. "I don't care about impressing him anymore," Min-jun said, pulling her close. "I care about building a future with you." As their deadline approached, rumors began swirling about the Lee heir's mysterious absence from Seoul's social scene. Some said he was studying abroad. Others whispered about a falling out with his father. But no one suspected the truth, that he was living just a few blocks away, building a new life with the woman he loved. 2 weeks before their 18 months were up, Min-jun surprised Maya with a picnic by the Han River. "Do you remember our first walk here?" he asked as they watched the sunset. "You told me you felt like you were living someone else's life," Maya recalled. "And now I'm living my own." He turned to face her. "Maya, these past months have been the happiest of my life, not because they've been easy, but because they've been real. Every challenge we've faced together. Every success has been sweeter because I could share it with you." He pulled out a small box, and Maya's heart stopped. "This isn't a fancy ring from the expensive jeweler," he said, opening it to reveal a simple silver band with a small diamond. "I saved for 6 months to buy it. But it's mine to give and yours to accept, with no conditions, no arrangements, no business deals attached. Maya Thompson, will you marry me?" Through her tears, Maya saw their whole future stretching out before them. It wouldn't always be easy. There would still be cultural differences to navigate, family relationships to repair or accept as broken. But they would face it all together. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, yes. 1,000 times yes." As Min-jun slipped the ring onto her finger, a group of nearby students started applauding, having witnessed the proposal. Among them, Maya spotted a familiar face, Kim Choi. Their eyes met across the distance. Choi's expression was unreadable for a moment. Then, surprisingly, she smiled and nodded slightly before walking away. Later, Maya would learn that Choi had fallen in love with someone her own family didn't approve of and was fighting her own battle for freedom. The next day, they stood together in Mr. Lee's office. Min-jun's startup had just been valued at $10 million. He had job offers from Silicon Valley and Singapore. He had proven he could succeed without the family name. "I uphold my part of the bargain," Mr. Lee said stiffly. "You've shown you can survive without the family support." "We've shown we can thrive," Min-jun corrected. "Father, Maya and I are getting married, with or without your blessing." Mr. Lee looked between them for a long moment. "Your mother wants to meet her," he said finally. "She says any woman who could inspire her son to find his own strength must be special." It wasn't exactly a blessing, but it was a beginning. The wedding was small, held in a garden overlooking Seoul. Maya's mother flew in from Chicago, crying happy tears as she watched her daughter marry the man who had given up everything to be with her. Min-jun's sister served as a bridesmaid, His parents attended, sitting stiffly in the front row, but they attended. During the reception, Mr. Lee approached Maya. "You were right," he said quietly. "Lasting isn't the same as living. My son is happier than I've ever seen him." "He's happy because he chose his own path," Maya replied. "Just like your great-grandmother did." Mr. Lee looked surprised. "He told you that story?" "He told me she said honor without love was just a beautiful prison. She sounds like a wise woman." "She was," Mr. Lee admitted. "Perhaps I had forgotten her wisdom." He paused, then added, "The Lee Foundation would like to offer you a position after you graduate. We're expanding our international division and could use someone with your skills and perspective." Maya smiled. "I'll consider it, but only if it's on my own merits, not because of who I married." "I wouldn't expect anything less from the woman who negotiated with me and won," Mr. Lee said with something that might have been approval. As the evening wound down, Maya and Min Jun slipped away from their guests to the rooftop garden where they had spent so many evenings dreaming of their future. "No regrets?" Maya asked, leaning against her husband. Min Jun turned her to face him. "My only regret is that I didn't knock those books over sooner," he said, making her laugh. "That was the worst pickup technique ever," she teased. "But it worked," he pointed out. "One kiss, one miracle. That's all it took to change everything." As they kissed under the soul sky, Maya reflected on their journey. They had defied expectations, challenged traditions, and chosen love over comfort. It hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. In the years that followed, Min Jun's company grew into a major player in the tech industry. Maya joined the Lee Foundation, eventually heading their global education initiative. They had 2 children who grew up knowing they were loved not for what they represented or what mergers they could secure, but simply for who they were. Mr. Lee became a doting grandfather, often telling his grandchildren the story of their great-great-grandmother who chose love over duty. "But remember," he would always add with a glance at Maya, "sometimes the greatest honor is having the courage to follow your heart." And in the coffee shop where it all began, the elderly owner would sometimes tell curious young couples about the American girl and the Korean prince who used to meet there. "They proved that love doesn't care about borders or bloodlines," he would say. "It only cares about truth and courage. And sometimes, that's all you need to rewrite your destiny."